You're watching your local election headquarters. An ABC4 News Town Hall Special, Coronavirus, a Path Forward.
Welcome back. It impacts our children and our future. We're talking education. For 9 weeks, school hallways and classrooms were empty, and it could be much longer before they get back to normal. Candidate for Governor Jon Huntsman Jr. is back with us now to discuss what education will look like moving forward if he were to win the race for governor. Let's start off with an abrupt shift that we saw at the end of last year. All of a sudden, parents becoming teachers. Are you concerned at all that students fell behind?
No, I think it actually has done some interesting things, Glenn. Everyone's in the homeschool business, and I think parents now appreciate all the more what teachers do. Yet if they didn't before, they certainly do now. So I think if nothing else,
I'll agree with you there, no doubt about that.
So I think it raises awareness overall about the importance of education and the role that parents can play, which should be central to everything we do in education.
Okay, so moving forward then, are we going to see some of those changes that we saw at the end of the school year become permanent in the future?
Well, I think it will show that we've got a little more flexibility because we've tried something we never thought we'd do before. And I think as it relates to distance learning and areas that are harder to access, I think we can, with greater confidence and a greater certainty around technology, be able to extend education into homes and communities that maybe were a challenge before. So I think what it means is greater flexibility and options in education, which is something we always ought to be shooting for. I found, Glenn, in raising my own 7 kids, that every one of them learns differently. They all enter the classroom differently. They all have different needs, and they all benefit from different styles of education. And I think we're never going to be complete until we actually have a marketplace that speaks to opportunities for all of our kids. But mostly, what I found as governor is that unless we have an economy that will support education, we're not going to have what we aspire to have. And I'm sick and tired of hearing these statistics about us always being the lowest in per capita or WPU funding. I want to make sure as we double this state's economy, that we do so with a thought in mind that we are going to help our kids and we're going to help them pursue their educational dreams, and that education for us is going to be seen as an opportunity for kids to take flight regardless of where they live, what their circumstances are, or their point of origin originally. That's the great thing about education here in the United States. It should be the great leavener, and we need the resources to do it right. And that's part of the reason I'm so excited about getting this economy kicked into high gear.
We have another question, this one coming from Andrew Lawrence. He asked this: pay for teachers has increased steadily, and that is great, but what other ways do you plan to help teachers and education here in Utah? That's something we hear quite a bit. Teachers are frustrated and underpaid here in the state of Utah.
Well, I think it is part financial. I think it's part maybe not fully appreciating what teachers do, the multifaceted role that they have. It's a lot of all the above, but the attrition rate with teachers is 2.5 times the national average. And if we're going to have a stable educational system going forward, we're going to have to fix our teacher recruitment and retention. I used to go around when I gave graduation speeches in our colleges and universities around the state, and I tell the graduating classes, don't just focus on going into banking or technology or the high-paying areas. Think about becoming teachers. Think about becoming something that really is going to mean something to you longer term and mean something to building our communities. I really think we need a clarion call to our kids graduating from college that they should pursue education, like my grandfather did. My grandfather Huntsman, who always said he was not a teacher, he was an educator. That was the top of the rung in society. And I think we can do a whole lot more in that regard, but we also have to remember that the dollars are important. And when we look at the average salary right now, it isn't close to what we should aspire to, which is probably closer to $60,000 to $65,000 on average for salaries in bringing people into the profession. We're not there. Envision Utah, which is a group I used to chair back in the 90s, has made some really important findings and recommendations. And I think those recommendations are outstanding. And now we have to build an economy that will support that and allow us to do it.
Okay, and there's still more to come on this special edition. Early on, the state's coronavirus task force made some controversial decisions. How a Huntsman administration would respond to the pandemic next on Coronavirus, a Path Forward.